I want to congratulate you, first of all, on your success with your new work for the Ailey company, Untitled America.
Yeah.
To me, when I saw the work, it didn't remind me anything of, but it reminded me of the intent of something like Rainbow Around My Shoulder.
All right. Yeah, I felt as if the Ailey audience is such a broad audience, and they reach so many more people than my work generally has the opportunity to reach. So I thought with the subject matter, it would be a great one to have in the hearts and minds of people who may seem removed, but bringing them into the work in a way that I think they can ideally connect with it and connect with various themes in the work.
You used a recurring theme that you also used in Pavement. And I thought you almost answered that question for me in your answer. I was wondering, did you decide to borrow that because it's first of all the idea of the hands clasped behind the back, and it reoccurring and reoccurring. I thought that was that set a statement on the revolving door system of society, of the penal system. But since you used it in other work, and since this is a much broader audience, and it's such a perfect gem of a visual imagery, I'm wondering, did you reincorporate that for that reason?
I did. It's funny. I read a negative review of one of the movements from someone over the past year, and they were kind of dismissive because they recognized the same theme. But I said, well, that's the reality. Like, it's in the work because it's happening in the world. So I know what I'm doing. Like, I know that, yes, this is an image that's in one piece and is now in another piece, but this is about our people, and this is happening to our people. So yes, there are other layers and textures that I'm showing in the work ideally, but that motif that's really important to have as a kind of conduit from one work to the next when we're thinking about the Black American body in America.
I also thought it was visually very stunning, the way it was lit.
Oh, Dan Scully.
Yeah, I thought it was beautiful, and I thought that it really accentuated the work. The way they came in first in the amber color, and then all of a sudden it turned to, you went really from warm to cool, back from the amber to the blues and to the grays, and it even affected how the costumes picked up the light. I found the work also to be more episodic than thematic. Which I thought was to the work's advantage.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think that was part of the, I think part of the reasoning behind this kind of three-chapter or three-movement idea was just to have more time to create. I think people aren't usually aware of how the time works in the creative process at Ailey. It's really tight. You're given probably 3 hours a day for maybe 3 weeks to do something. So, I was really grateful that Robert and everyone in the organization gave me the time to make something. But in doing so, I know that they have to show parts of it as it's happening. So trying to create something that you can kind of show in these sections and allow the sections to be a part of the storytelling process. And ideally, when I went back in after making the second movement, part of the thought for me was to just really build on transitions and try and give it some kind of glue.
I remember when I saw the first session, I thought, first of all, I thought the idea of doing it the way you did it was brilliant, because it did give you time, and also it allowed the audience, people who are maybe a little more dance savvy, to be involved in the process of what you did.
Yeah, I thought that'd be exciting.
And it was. It gave the audience to see how it developed and how it maturated.
Yeah, there actually might be, I think there are 4 casts of that trio in particular, and I love watching all the different iterations and how they live in it. But a lot of the movement was in some ways inspired by the interviews that both Wendy and Kevin Freck conducted as part of this process. They spoke to people who had been in and out of the prison system, in some cases numerous times, and sometimes for a long stint of time. But just watching their body language, some of the people in the interviews, at one point we were going to use the interviews projected, but some of them, they were moving so much that you couldn't do it. But there was something about that was really interesting to me, so that's what I think I was playing with a little bit in the Father, the tree.
First time I saw you use the upper body that way was in the Graham work that
Yeah. That was
Yeah, I thought that was,
fun.
yeah, it was not only a fun piece.
fun,
But I'm gonna tell you what it all should be
variations
fun.
on meditation, it can be fun, but yeah.
It was beautiful just because you had two different casts and it was not gender, there was nothing about it that made it gender specific.
Yeah.
It worked through the movement with both casts, and I thought it worked very well.
I've never seen it.
Well, you need to. I mean,
I've never seen it.
You really need to.
I'd love to
You
see it.
did a great job. I'll take that.
Thanks.
But yeah, especially and at that point, I was really impressed with the upper body work because the port de bras was so sustained and it was it was fluid. And then when I saw you do the trio the first time, I saw that you not even took that concept, but because it's your signature now, the way that moves, and you expanded upon it, and over time. From the first time I saw the trio into the last time, you could see the maturation, how it, has gone someplace else.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really hard thing for a choreographer who I like to challenge myself in different ways, but when it's not my audience necessarily, I have to be aware of that and think about how much I can challenge them as well. But with the subject matter being something that it was a major jumping off point for the work, I had to think about ways in which we could introduce that subject matter for audiences that, I think maybe don't want something too left, but for me, I don't want to go too right either.
Yeah.
So just trying to play with that was something that was important to me, playing with abstraction when we can, and think about these moments when we can really just kind of create different layers so that some people can see the work and see all these other different layers and themes in the work different from just the kind of root. That's always important. I mean, it's hard. I think especially when you think about the section that you're referring to with the "I Want to Go Home" tableau and that movement in particular. It's that text was recorded after me hearing my mother say that in the hospital, and she passed. Her funeral service was 2 days before that second movement premiered, and I had been trying to work through a relationship that didn't seem to work out. So kind of having this major loss of a family for me while making this work, and then feeling like, when I read a certain criticism or critique, I won't say which one it was, but a certain one that was really unflattering, and it was so disheartening knowing that it was something that for me was so personal, and as someone who works, as a lot of us do, dedicating our life to our work, to just see something that seems so read something that was so flippant, was really hard to take. Really hard.
When they were talking about Rent, the guy who wrote Rent, and by the time he won the Tony, he had passed.
Yeah.
And his sister came up and took the award, and he said it took my brother 17 years to become an overnight success. So the question I have for you is, you've been working as an artist for a while, and all of a sudden, the last 5 years or so, you've been blessed with this meteoric kind of rise.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, I guess, double-edged swords in some ways. There are a lot. I was talking to Camille Brown, someone who I love and respect, about where we're at in our careers and how people so often will tell you there's a group of people that will support you. And there's group of people that are probably on the opposite side of that spectrum that are waiting to see you fail. So it's hard. It's a hard thing to be gauging. I think with all the accolades that come my way, there are always going to be a large group of people that don't think I deserve them. So I have to, again, as we were talking before, I have to really figure out how to constantly stay really aware of where I feel like my failures are. And that's something that's really important as I continue to make work. And also keep in mind what it is I liked about making work, because I can get so caught up in what people expect for me to do, and all the assumptions that kind of go into that. people think that I need to be performing. Some people think I should be in really massive theaters. Some people think I need to be taking a break. So I think it's important for me to just let the work decide those things. And so I don't have an interest in making every single work look exactly the same. So trying to kind of play with the scope and scale of what we're making, and ideally making works that I want to stand behind. And ideally people will, and if they don't, I understand that, but hopefully people will feel good about what has come my way, and I can start to feel better about what's come my way, because for a long time I didn't feel worthy. And in some cases I don't really, but I accept it, and I'm going to keep trying to feel as if I'm deserving of some of those things. I don't feel that way yet, but hopefully it's someday I will.
And so how do you keep it fresh for you? How do you come up with, because replenishing, part of being an artist is pulling off of your own experiences. And so you always have to keep replenishing that. And at some point going back, maybe distancing yourself from the work and from other people just so you can have a new idea.
Yeah, I guess it's just trying to, step outside of what I'm doing at times. And if I'm working with my company, we work really collaboratively. If I ask them to make a phrase and I see too much of what I already do, I'm like, I can't use any of that. And I have to tell them, like, I can't use that. The whole part of the reason why we're collaborating is so that you can give me something new, give me some new sparks. I know what I do, so I want to see what you can do and what you can help me do. And we worked, even this Ailey work is a really collaborative work. There was some of the best movement and some of the best material that we had for this whole suite didn't make it into the work, because we would have gone well over the time that we were allowed to kind of play with it. But we worked really collaboratively. In some cases it was just some of the material was so great and so new that it didn't connect necessarily to the themes that we had already created in the first or second movement. But I really love getting that new juice and new fire and trying to find that in my own body as well. And a lot of that actually comes from making or just playing around, or just from being more and more communal with people in a rehearsal space. And when we start joking around, new freedoms, new voices start to come out of your body in a really exciting way.
I've seen the growth.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Yes.
No, I appreciate it. You never know.
No, you see the growth, and you see the maturity in the work. But some things haven't changed. Maybe with you, the movement is secondary. Really, you're a wonderful storyteller.
Oh, thanks.
And you work through the abstract narrative so well with doing that. And I've seen you. Yes, you can take an idea, and I've seen you, like, for instance, my favorite one theme that I've seen you do is prolonged stillness. And you, both times that's what you do. When you lied, you were on the stage and you were still.
Yeah.
And it was for a prolonged period of time. And what it did was it created such an audience, tension with the audience. Because first you blend in, and then it's by even standing still, you stand out. And then everybody's waiting to see, well, what is he going to do? How long is he going to be there? And so it built a wonderful dramatic tension.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sometimes I say that we move as fast as we do so that we can accentuate the stillness and the slow moments in the work, because those primarily tend to be my favorite. The fast things come out of a subconscious place of like, oh, let me just get through this. But I do love stillness, and I do love moving slower than I think people think I would like to move. But yeah, I mean, each work is different. The next work for my company is called Dearest Home, and it's going to be a real departure from, I think, what people have seen before. And the work after that is an extreme departure from what that piece is. So I am excited about how people take them in, but we'll see how they transfer.
Listen, I want to thank you so much for spending the time, and much continued success.
Thanks. Well, I hope things go up from here.